Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. This is what the United States has always argued that they represent, because we're a nation of people without a home. Whether it is second, third, or somewhere down the line generations, almost all of us got here because somebody left their home and searched for something better. We argue that we are the giant melting pot that creates this wonderful gumbo that mixes all the ingredients together. The only problem with that is a giant melting pot actually needs to mix different ingredients together. The United States, especially recently, has adopted a strategy of actually stripping people of their cultures. Instead of mixing all of these ingredients together, it transforms everyone into the same ingredient. And instead of a mixed gumbo, it's more of a basic tomato soup. One of the most important aspects of anybody's culture is their language. People arrive here with an everyday reminder of their home in the form of how they speak. And increasingly so, the United States is better than basically anywhere else when it comes to taking that away from them. Sociologist and researcher Ruben Rambeau referred to the United States as a graveyard for languages because the United States is the most aggressive nation in the world when it comes to assimilating its people and getting them to not only forget their native tongue, but learn English more frequently and quicker. One community that is affected by this more so than the rest in the United States is the Hispanic community. The U.S. Census Office estimated that we will have 138 million Spanish speakers by 2050. That would make the United States the largest Spanish-speaking population in the world. Yet every day, Spanish speakers, if they do not speak English, are treated like second-class citizens. Americans who don't speak English are statistically much more likely to both drop out of high school and live in poverty. Researcher Mai-Cho Lohr from the International Journal of Nursing Studies conducted a study and found that patients who don't speak the same language as their healthcare providers actually have twice the risk of receiving less than optimal care. They also see fewer medical visits and have higher costs of care. He also found that people in the United States who don't speak English are statistically much more likely to both be obese and have cancer. With Hispanics being our largest minority demographic, as well as the largest amount of immigrants that come to the United States, they are the demographic that is affected by this more so than anybody else. Learning English should still be a priority for anybody who comes to the United States, but we can do a lot more when it comes to bridging the gap between them. By putting forth a concerted effort to adopt government-enacted bilingual policies, we could better the lives of our burgeoning Hispanic populations and also provide a lot of benefit to our native English speakers as well. The global economy is increasingly interconnected. By making our workforce bilingual, not only will we be providing our people with more opportunities, but also we'll be catching up with the rest of the world, as most of them have already enacted, either officially or unofficially, bilingual policies. Van C. Tran in the Journal of Social Forces also found that bilingualism is associated with reduced dropout rates in high school, raised occupational status, and increased earnings. Bilingual students are much more likely to graduate from high school and go to college. Bilingual students also have larger social networks that aid them both in school and in their professional lives. Critics of this policy would argue that an emphasis on two languages would de-incentivize learning English for minority groups. There's plenty of research that suggests the complete opposite, though. Canada is actually very similar to us in that they just enacted a very similar policy. The majority of Canada are English speakers, but they have their largest minority demographic speaks French. They recently became an officially bilingual country, and since then have seen a lot of success. In Quebec, where the majority of all of their French speakers live, bilingualism, which means that the French speakers started to learn English, increased dramatically. It rose from 28% to 42% from 1971 and 2011. Critics would also argue that focusing on learning two languages at once could lead to poorer comprehension of both languages, and also it could lead to Spanish becoming the dominant language. There's also no evidence to back this up. Use of Spanish with others both at home and in school has no statistical significance on the effect of English proficiency. It actually exerts a strong effect on Spanish proficiency. Also, second-generation Latinos reported higher fluency in English than Spanish. So concerns about Spanish becoming the dominant language is not really founded in reality. Patricia Gondara in the Journal of Educational Leadership argued that use of a language is by far the best way to promote and retain it. Maintenance bilingual programs as well as two-way dual language immersion programs have proven to provide a strong bilingual foundation for students as long as it's enacted early on. I'm calling on everybody to write or call their congressman and support for these proactive bilingual policies as a standard in our educational system. So hopefully our tired and poor and huddled masses will begin to be able to breathe for the first time.